Hey guys, what's up? It's Lizzie. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up. It really supports me and helps push this video out to other people like you that may be moving, maybe coming to Colorado, maybe moving to Denver, that want to see some apartments. So I wanted to first give a couple tips and tricks to renters because I'm actually an ex-leasing agent myself. I worked in the industry for quite some time. I worked in student housing in Wyoming, and I worked in a luxury building in the low-high Denver area, so I have a pretty good understanding. I toured 4 apartments in total. Also, I do just want to mention this video will have timestamps below, so if you're not interested in the tips and you just want to see the apartments, feel free to skip to that portion of the videos. I will include prices and general square footage for each apartment and kind of give a background on, how I felt about the apartment, the amenities, etc. But without further ado, let's get into some apartment tips. First tip I want to give is to read the housing agreement. Now, this might sound like a little monotonous because those housing agreements, they can be like 20, 30, 50 pages. But as you sign, I thoroughly and strongly encourage you to read through, look at everything, because there's most likely going to be fees that you didn't think about. For example, my apartment, there's a $35 trash fee. They have a valet trash, which is really nice. They pick up your trash for you at your door, and you don't have to go to a dumpster every single day or every time you need to take out the trash. However, it is a $35 mandatory fee that you have to pay. So we added that on to our rent budget, and essentially you're gonna find fees in there, especially if you have a dog or a cat. Usually there's some kind of pet deposit, and sometimes there's a full-on pet deposit, pet rent, and they can actually get really expensive really quickly. At my last apartment, it was a $500 deposit and a $50 pet rent, and I think it's something similar to this apartment as well. Make sure when you're on your tour, you're asking a lot of questions. A lot of it will be answered in the lease, but usually when you're touring, you don't actually have a lease in front of you until you pay, a holding fee, which is usually a couple $100s, and a application fee, usually about $50. If you pay a holding fee and you find out that you're not qualified or you don't make enough income for the apartment you applied for, you do get that fee refunded to you. So, don't think that you're just throwing a lot of money at them. However, the application fee is usually non-refundable, and that's like $50. So it's always a good idea to be pretty sure that that's where you want to live before you go, doing applications and everything like that. Otherwise, you're just putting money in the apartment complex's pocket, which, great for them, bad for you. Usually, you're going to see a 12-month leases. That's the standard. However, you can normally get shorter leases if maybe you only need a place for 3 months, 6 months. When you get shortened leases, it is more expensive per month. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're wanting a shorter lease. It's always a little cheaper if you know that you're going to be living somewhere for a long time to just sign a 12-month lease. Also, another really important reason to read the housing agreement is you want to know your exit strategies, your transfer options, because that's another thing that can get expensive really, really quickly. So what I always suggest is seeing the apartment in person before you actually sign a lease, move in, all of these things. Reason for that, usually when you're looking online, the pictures look great, they're edited, they have nice decor everywhere, it's clean, it looks nice. But then maybe when you get to the actual apartment, it's not the case. Maybe your window is facing another window directly. I once lived in an apartment like that. Or maybe you are, you just have no view. Maybe you have a green space in front of you and you have a nice little view. All of these things are something you want to take into account. So let's say you're touring a unit, right? It's the layout you want, it's the price you want, you like the building, you like the amenities, and you want to sign for an apartment. So you say, is this the unit that's available, this specific one? And they say, no, it's actually a different unit that's in XYZ building on the north side, whatever. So what I would do if I were you, just go for a little stroll, go for a little walk over there, see what it's about, see what the view is. I did that for my last apartment and this apartment, and came to find out that my last apartment, I overlooked a nice green space. This apartment, we have a beautiful mountain view, and that was really important to us. We didn't want to face somebody else. We wanted that privacy. So that was one of our like criterias to move, and that's one of the reasons we signed here, is because we knew the specific unit and we knew, you know, what the view was and everything like that. The best time of the year to move is most likely summer. Usually there's more units available, more people are moving in the summer. It's a little bit easier to move in the summertime or the spring, just due to the weather and everything like that, especially in Denver and Colorado. You know, you might have snow, you might have cold weather. So summer is the best time to move. However, you know, if you can't move in the summer or spring, like, it's totally fine. You can still make it happen. Another thing that I didn't touch on with exit strategies is transfer fees. So sometimes you may want to like transfer within your apartment before the lease may be up. Maybe you have a loud neighbor, maybe you're right by a highway and you didn't expect it. That's something else that's going to be in the lease, is those transfer fees, and that's something that can be really expensive. At our last apartment, it was like $1,500 just to transfer, and then you still had to pay all the normal fees on top of that, everything. So just something to consider. It's always better to kind of get it right the first time, hence why you should see it in person, or at least know what building you're going into. Financial backing, guarantors. So it does depend on the building, but normally you need to make 3 times the rent amount in order to qualify for like that apartment or that specific building. 3 times is I think the standard in a lot of places. So like, let's say for example, you bring in $4,000 a month, divide that by 3, and that's usually about the amount that you can afford in rent each month for an apartment, and the amount you'd get approved for if you were trying to self-qualify. Self-qualify meaning you were just trying to apply for the apartment by yourself. If you are a student, or maybe you don't have an income, or your parents support you, then getting a guarantor is a really good option. Normally guarantors need to make 5 times the rent amount. That's just something to keep in mind if you're getting a kind of expensive apartment. Your parents might need to be making some money. And your guarantors don't have to be parents either. It can actually just be any responsible adult. Concessions and discounts. Now, in college housing, we ran concessions, discounts all year, all the time. There was always some kind of discount going on. It was something you could basically count on. As the year went on, they got less and less. So normally, I'd say this kind of goes for other apartments too. If they're running a concession or a discount, it's most likely going to be higher at the beginning of the year and lower at the end of the year, or none at the end of the year. However, it's always a good idea to try to negotiate the monthly rent amount. We actually did that for this apartment, and we got $50 off just because we asked. That's all it takes. The worst they can say is no, but we asked them if they would be willing to take $50 off the rent amount, and they actually did do that because we signed same day. So how I would suggest that conversation, you know, let's say you're touring apartments, you've seen a couple different places, and bam, you find the apartment that you want to apply for. Talk to the leasing agent. Say, hey, like, is there any way you could do a little bit off the rent if I signed my lease today? It has to be like some kind of give and take if you're going to negotiate. Like, you can't just be asking for free money off just randomly at any time. So I would definitely do this with an apartment that you're really serious about. And they may say yes. Like, the worst they can say is say no, but most likely they're going to ask their manager because they want to get a lease for that day. They want to hit their quota for the month. So they may ask their manager and say, hey, we have someone willing to sign right now. They just want $50 off. Is that something we can accommodate? And you wouldn't believe how many people don't ask to negotiate, or didn't even know that you can negotiate your rent amount. You definitely can. Highly suggest doing it. Especially if it's something you're serious about. I want to touch briefly on roommates. So I live with my boyfriend, my partner. You know, it's great. We split everything down the middle, so it makes living a lot cheaper. When you're sharing things like internet bills, groceries, that kind of thing, it's really important to kind of know the person first. I would always suggest getting to know your roommates before you move in with them, especially if it's a type of lease where you're splitting the rent. At the college housing place that I worked at, the leases were individual by room because we would place a lot of roommates and we did like roommate matching and that kind of thing. But in normal apartment buildings where it's not student housing, you're going to be responsible for the rent amount. Like if your name's on the lease, if someone just dips out, stops paying, that's on you. People can be unreliable. And if you're gonna get into a financial contract with someone that you've never met before, sounds a little sketchy to me. I don't know. So I would suggest like moving in with someone or at least just meeting the people ahead of time. Just be cautious with that. Meet them for coffee, have a Zoom meeting, whatever it may be. It's always better to kind of at least like get their general vibe before you go into this really expensive financial contract. Another thing is parking. So I always like to ask, like, it really depends if it's a lot or if it's a garage. In Denver, you're going to get a lot of garages that you're going to have an assigned spot that's you're going to be paying for monthly. Normally it's over $100 for one car, and then if you get a second car, it's like a lot more. It's like $175, up. It really just depends on the building. You just have to ask that question. And you have to make sure that there's actually parking available. So for example, when I worked in Denver, there was never enough parking for the people that wanted to actually get a spot, and they were assigned spots. So you had to like go on a waiting list if you had a second car or something like that. So couples that had two cars that had two separate commutes had a really hard time, which understandably so. And that was a big piece of frustration within that building. So it's always good to ask about the parking situation ahead of time. Ask how much it is. Ask if you need a parking pass. Ask if they have like a gated community, if you need like some kind of garage key, something like that. So my apartment is set up we're just in a parking lot. We're kind of in a townhouse style, so we don't actually have assigned parking. There's just parking spots all over the complex. So one thing I did ask, I said, is there parking normally? And she said, yeah, I haven't really like heard any complaints about that. And she was right. Like no complaints about the current parking, and I'm glad I asked the question. There's also garages here that you can rent, which is, another $200 on your rent. So like if you have like a nice car and you want it to be in a garage, make sure you're adding that expense on top of your rent. It's all really just making sure that you have the budget for the fees. Everything else is going to be in the lease agreement. So that's why it's just, I cannot stress this enough, how important it is just to read over the leasing agreement. I think that's pretty much all the tips that I have. If you guys have, any tips yourself or any questions or something I didn't cover, feel free to put that down below in the comments. I want to show you guys some of the places that I toured. These are going to be 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I think one of them is 2-bedroom, 1-bath, if I'm remembering correctly. And they're in the price range of about $1,900 to $2,500 or so.
All right, so apartment number 1 was around 1,300 square feet, and this apartment came out to be about $2,350 a month. As you can see, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, has that built-in desk next to the bathroom, which just makes no sense to me. Both bedrooms in this apartment were really small. I like the large windows, but overall, for the price, it just wasn't doing it for me, and I don't know, it was also really close to the neighbors. You could just see right into their windows. Decent sized living room, I'll give it that. Here's a little overview of the kitchen. So same finishes as our last apartment. Apartment number 2 was just not it. I mean, we kind of knew the minute we walked in. This apartment was around $1,600 a month, around 1,200 square feet. And granted, it's not a terrible option. It's actually a decent apartment with good light, decent appliances. Everything was fine. It just wasn't exactly what we were looking for, and we had a bit of a higher budget in order to get some more modern appliances and just a little bit more space as well. Also, this apartment just seemed really lived in, and can we just talk about that refrigerator placement for a second? How annoying would that be to open, as you're trying to like cook something? Bedroom number 1, decent size. I like the big window. This apartment did get really nice light, I will say. The built-in desks, I just am not a fan of a built-in desk because I have my own desk, so just not really necessary. Bathroom, this was the only bathroom, so it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and I would think they'd have a double sink if that's going to be the only bathroom. Not bad. It was clean. It was fine, but you could definitely tell it was really lived in and just kind of outdated for what we were looking at. Master bedroom, pretty small once again. I will say pretty decent sized closet for being a bit of an older build, so not terrible there. Apartment number 3 had some really nice modern finishes. This apartment came out to be just under $2,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. I actually really liked the interior of this apartment. I will say the layout was a little bit strange, and I believe this apartment was around 1,300 square feet, so pretty decent size. Maybe it was a little bit larger than that, maybe around 1,400, but reason I like this is probably one of the most modern apartments that we looked at today, and yeah, just great finishes all around. Really, really liked it. Seemed very clean and new. Both bathrooms looked really nice. Master bedroom was a decent size and had that bathroom attached, as well as, you know, one of those sliding closets. So it wasn't a walk-in closet. There's a little overview of the bathroom. And this is what the living room looked like. So you could tell pretty close to your neighbors. It had a small balcony as well. Good light, but pretty small. And apartment number 3, this apartment was one of the largest that we looked at, coming in at about 1,500 square feet, but it also just felt really large. So here's the bedroom. This is the master, and I thought it was just a really good size. Also, this apartment was about $2,400 in rent, so a little more expensive, but really, really good size to it. Great bathroom, loved the finishes, loved the tile. I will say the unit we got had a few different finishes, but it's still really, really nice. Great walk-in closet in the master bedroom with lots of shelf space. Then kind of just walking over into the other bedroom, this acts as our office currently, and the window placement is a little bit different. We don't have that curved window in that specific bedroom, but really great size, good size for an office, and it has a great size closet. Our closet's laid out slightly different, but honestly, it's bigger. This is the guest bathroom, same finishes, you know, decent size for a guest bathroom. What more do you need? Living room area, really good size, so many windows. That's just something that's sold. We have that little breakfast nook as well. Absolutely love the windows and the light that that brings in. And we actually have a mountain view out those windows, so it's really, really beautiful to see the sunset. Awesome kitchen as well. Kind of a weird layout, and I won't lie, some of the appliances annoy me, but I like it overall.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it and found some of the tips helpful. Make sure to give this video a like. Put your comments down below if you have any questions or any other tips to give to new renters. And make sure to subscribe to my channel because I will be doing an apartment tour very soon, so you can see how I decorated. And obviously, due to the fake plant, the lighting, the circle mirror, I definitely have some style that you want to stick around for. Happy to make more apartment videos. If you guys have any requests, throw them down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.